Welcome to Inside the Vault, Enterprise Bank's podcast series where we talk about items of interest to the small business community. Today, we want to talk a little bit about the importance of information technology and cybersecurity for small business. And to do that, I have with me today Matt McCullough, who is the Vice President of Information Technology for Enterprise Technology Group. Welcome, Matt.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
So Enterprise Technology Group, for our viewers and listeners, is one of our newest offerings here within the bank's ecosystem of subsidiaries, where we are providing information technology and cybersecurity solutions for small businesses, whether they be customers of the bank or in general in the small business community. So Matt, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about you personally and what your background is, and then who else is on your team at the Enterprise Technology Group.
Sure. So Matt McCullough here. I actually graduated at IEP, circa 2005. And so I've been in the industry for quite a while. My team is also pretty versed in technology as well. I have Sarah and Brett on our team. They are both senior systems admins. They're jack of all trades kind of people. So all the way from desktops, servers, virtualization, and especially cybersecurity. We're bringing on a junior sales engineer to help bridge the gap in what I like to call the IT nerd lingo. So small business owners get a really good sense of, the common themes across IT, but also in a real application type delivery to them. So that way they're understanding everything about what could happen to them. And that's where this position will be coming into. So.
Well, I think it's also important for our viewers and listeners to know that, you running Enterprise Technology Group, you also have a similar perspective to most of the clients you'll be dealing with because you are a small business owner yourself.
That is correct. I have two breweries that are in operation right now, Den and Keg Brewing Company. We have a location in Mars as well as a location in Clearfield. Me kind of having that business side and understanding what can hurt us, it really brings some value to our clients here at the bank. Because I can I'm living it day to day.
Sure. So you're not a pure IT nerd.
I am not. I'm a little bit of a nerd across all aspects: brewing, winemaking, IT, all of it. So yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how Enterprise Technology Group came to be.
Sure.
I mean, I think a lot of our listeners know the bank has kind of developed, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, kind of an ecosystem around the core banking operation, where we've developed subsidiary entities to help small businesses in certain aspects of their operation where they may not be, technically proficient. Mm-hmm. We have, a bookkeeping subsidiary that provides accounting and bookkeeping services. We have a real estate brokerage subsidiary of the bank that helps clients with their real estate needs. We have a title insurance subsidiary. And this latest, Enterprise Technology Group, we identified, I think all of us collectively at the bank, kind of a weakness with some of our prospects and clients around, IT and cybersecurity.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what happened. We were in the belief that just protecting the bank from, all the threats that are out there. Well, some of our threats are actually our customers. So keeping them secure as part of, their overall IT posture is going to help us in the end at the bank. So we deliver services tailored to pretty much any small business. You can look at Enterprise Bank as being our biggest client, but also one of our biggest, assets there. So we're delivering all of the IT infrastructure, licensing, hardware, software, all of that to Enterprise Bank as being our biggest customer. We can easily pivot to help small businesses, do the exact same thing for what makes sense for them. Me being in that small business realm as well, I don't want to be oversold something I don't need. Well, that's our biggest benefit here is we literally walk and talk it every day. And so this whole enterprise technology group idea came about because we really needed to help serve our clients at the bank level. So moving forward, we can really help any level of business, whether you're a $1 million company or a mom and pop pizza shop. There's something in between there that is always available. So
yeah, and when you talk about the profile of the mom and pop small business, I mean, you've got typically an owner or owners that are wearing all the hats. I mean, they're salespeople, they're operations people, they're finance. They're trying to get their arms around the financials.
Yep.
So they don't necessarily either have one, the expertise, or two, the time,
right,
to dedicate to proper IT, and cybersecurity. Obviously, when you get to scale, at some level, you're able to bring some of that expertise in house.
Right.
But I think this is a great solution for those that again are busy 24/7 running their core operation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you want owners of businesses doing what they do best and building that business. That's what they're striving to do. That's what they're good at. IT's really always on the backside of things when, and in this day and age, it needs to be on the forefront. Even if you are just a small, a 3 laptop shop, what are you going to do if those 3 laptops go down in a day? Whatever that scenario looks like, how are you going to work the next day? So that's where we come in. We can come in and help. Like I said, any size business, we really fit your mold. So.
Yeah. And obviously, no secret, the biggest danger to small business, other than not having the efficiency of a good IT system to run their operations, is the cybersecurity threats that are out there, which, there's multiple horror stories out there, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yep.
So, let's start with the basics, though, before we get into cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So, what types of things can you guys do to help a business run more efficiently from an IT perspective?
Well, you said it earlier. We're letting the business owner, we're taking that piece off of the business owner's, job list of things to do. So right there, you're gaining some efficiencies just from a business owner. Again, we can come in, remote monitoring and management for, all of your devices, put security around all of that. We can do trainings for your staff, depending on if that's a need or not, which it usually is. We do free IT assessments, just kind of give you a baseline of what challenges you might be overlooking, threats that you may already have that you didn't know about. And then it comes down to the remediation point. So taking care of all of those things that we discover is an additional set of projects that we can work with you on. But right out of the gate, you're going to end up with here's a document. Here's what will show you on how your network's running, what you should be worried about, different things that show up with our tools. So,
and the one aspect of this I think is overlooked is, we need to protect our information and our systems from outside threats.
Right.
But we also need business runs on data.
Right.
We also need to protect that data from ourselves to some degree and from other factors, whether it be a disaster, a flood, a tornado, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of data backup?
Talking a little bit about disaster recovery, if you're hit with something, we're doing backups to where, we could be running out of a California office if need be. Everything it's being in the cloud doesn't mean you're protected. So we do backups of our cloud environments as well, bring them on site. And it's just really making sure that you're protected from all different types of events. So whether it's, you got hit with ransomware, your computer crashed, the physical infrastructure's gone, if that was a fire, flood, whatever, all of that stuff is extremely valuable to the client. So we take the proper precautions to make sure that's all able to be gotten to if need be.
Yeah. So let's talk about networks. So you guys have experience, you and your team have experience with a lot of different types of network configurations.
Yeah.
And when I say network these days, it's important to think about these as part of your network too.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are on audio, I'm pointing to my smartphone.
Yeah.
So talk about some of the network and systems type solutions that you guys could provide.
Yeah. So as far as cell phones go, I mean, you have Dave being part of Enterprise Bank, you have a lot of data that belongs to Enterprise Bank on your phone. What we're able to do with just cell phones alone is we can protect the data that's on there, where you can't even copy and paste from one app to another if it's not deemed appropriate by the IT group and obviously management here at the bank. But same plays or same type of plan for anybody. If you have email on your phone, which is what mostly everybody uses it for, but now everything's in OneDrive, all of these different locations for data to be sitting in there. We protect that. You can back it up. We can limit who can get access to it. Two-factor is another huge thing.
Yeah, talk about two-factor authentication. I know pretty much every app I have anymore has that.
Yeah, I mean, we can enforce two-factor authentication for pretty much any app that we manage for a client. So if it's email and you want to be two-factoring into your email app every time, we can set it that way. It's really up to the discretion of the business owner. There's a blend. You don't want to be too secure you want to be secure, but you don't want that security to be in your way of your daily operations.
Inefficiency, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, we work directly with the business owner to see what that need is. And knowing that from being a business owner, we know where those pain points can be.
So talking about systems, what types of systems that are common for a small business to use, operating environments, do you and your team have experience with?
So, it's really from top down. I mean, we can deal with the smaller systems where you have internet coming in and you have 3 laptops, or all the way up to you have two fiber providers that's coming into, firewall switches, core switching. All of that stuff is in play for us. Really we can do all of that support for your size of business. That really doesn't make a difference to us. What we're looking for is to provide value around what you already have and remove that management piece from the people that shouldn't be managing it anyways, but also give those hours back to the people that need them most, which is the ownership.
So, the bank, we deal with a lot of pure startups.
Yep.
So can you and your team also go in and design systems for a new business?
Yeah, 100%. So ground up, again, it starts with the client in understanding, we would have a meeting, understanding what their goals are, what their projections are from the business standpoint, because that's often overlooked. If you're going to be a $500,000 a year business, that's a lot different infrastructure than it is for a $5 million a year business. It really depends on how that works. So we do a very custom, deep dive into what your plan would be, and how you want to grow. So we're also not selling to you to make money off of the hardware. Everything's gone into a support model. We want to make sure that you're supported the entire time.
So let's talk about the big elephant in the room for every small business, which is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
The statistics are staggering.
It's nuts. And I honestly just grabbed a new one today that is quite frightening. So it was, as of today, there's about 300,000 different types of malware being created on a daily basis. Daily. Yeah, daily. 92% of those are actually being distributed just via email. So your email is really where we like to start, putting protections around that. But again, it also still goes back to what the business needs. So there's all kinds of tools that can be implemented. There's tons of way to skin that cat, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's what the business drives that we put in. So,
I mean, even from the bank's perspective, I mean, you're responsible obviously for the bank's security.
Yep.
What's the volume of potential attacks that we experience even at the bank level?
So at the bank level, I mean, you're talking 70 employees. That's, 70 mailboxes that we're protecting. we're discarding around 200,000 emails a day that don't even make it to your inbox, because that's how,
with only 70
with
employees.
70 employees, it's staggering. So yeah.
And is this environment, this threat environment, is continually
It's ever changing. So it's never the same thing on a daily basis. It's growing more and more. There's services out there that you can literally go out and buy and say, hey, I want to create this piece of ransomware. There's companies out there that build these things for you on the dark web, and you deploy them and try to make money off of it. That's where we've gotten to it. It's literally hacking as a service. So how do you combat that? Well, a lot of it is what we do here in the bank, is that cybersecurity training, and we beat it into our people. We really do, because you have to.
Yeah, for those viewers and listeners, we have kind of a unique program here at the bank. If any of our employees take the bait,
Yep.
so to speak, because one of Matt's group's roles is to, provide phishing type opportunities for employees to take the bait on. And if they take the bait and click on a link that they shouldn't have clicked on, they and anybody else that month that has made a cybersecurity boo-boo has to cook breakfast for the entire bank.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's great. What is that? That's negative reinforcement, I think, right?
Yeah,
so it really is a great way that we do it here. Obviously, you can do this multiple different ways. We usually always do it followed up with a cybersecurity presentation about, hey, here's what went wrong. This is what you did. And we never call anybody out, but it's known because they're the ones cooking. But yeah, so it's definitely, and I have a different example every month because everything's changing. I'm sure all of the listeners have had, emails claiming to be, hey, I want $1 million. I just got to click here and put my username and password in. Guess what? It's going to cost you. So.
Yeah. But a lot of it is much, much more sophisticated than these days. Right?
Yeah, these days.
Social engineering, right?
Yeah, honestly, like there was one of my favorite videos of some of the videos that we subscribe to was at DEF CON out in Las Vegas, which is where all the hackers go to, kind of meet up, and all the good guys too, to combat them, right? But
that's got to be an interesting dynamic.
I would think so. Yeah, like I've never been, but so. What was fascinating was one of the attendees, not really, hacker or IT guy, was brought into a booth, and, the girl that was running the booth said, I can probably get one of your account numbers in a matter of minutes. And all the guy did was say where he lived and that he had DirecTV. So she had like two pieces of information. And all of a sudden, she's making some phone calls to DirecTV or whatever the company was. It was Dish or whatever. She ended up getting into his account information. Now, this was a few years ago before the two-factor really took off and all of that. But within 5 minutes, she was in the account making changes. I mean, it's absolutely crazy what you can do just by having a conversation. And you might not even be knowing you're having the conversation, and somebody's just eavesdropping on you. Yeah. So
I think it's that human element that makes the education for not just the business owners but their employees so important.
Right.
And you guys can provide that type of training and education.
It's all about training and reinforcement. There should never be an email rush to say, hey, I need you to go do X, Y, and Z, and I need it done in 20 minutes. That's not a normal business process, right?
Yeah.
Those are usually red flags. Okay, somebody got hacked. I'm trying to get money out of it. So, yeah, there's all kinds of different applications for that.
And I don't want you to give all your value up here on the podcast, but a couple of basic tips for small businesses with regard to cybersecurity.
So from the cyber side, it's really making sure that your firewall or any presence that you have is locked down. Keeping up with Windows updates is a huge thing. Updates that's how people are getting in. So if you're up to date, that really is, a really big positive for you, because you're not going to be exposed to the easy things that are out there to compromise you.
And your group can ensure that happens on
Again,
an ongoing
it's our
basis.
suite of services. We can manage all the Windows updates, and it's not even Windows. It's Adobe, it's Firefox, it's all anything that is a application that's running,
Including social media.
social media is a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, there's tools that we can help with there. As far as even your Macs, everybody was under the impression that, oh, if you had a Mac, you can't get hacked. Well, that's not the case. It just happens less frequently just because of the sheer ratio from one to the other.
Yeah.
But it's definitely possible. So there is tools that we have that will manage all of that stuff for you. If you're in a compliance organization and you're getting audited, these tools that we have provide you that documentation to hand to your auditor, say, yep, we're good, on a monthly basis, weekly, daily, whatever is needed by that customer.
So beyond the bank itself, which we've been pretty lucky, never have any breaches or anything like that. We have had some customer situations.
Yeah.
Now, we can't name names here, obviously, but can you give us a couple examples of what you've seen in the customer base?
Yeah, so a few of our clients, obviously, you're going into a non-perfect system, especially when you're walking in after a true ransomware event. So we had a company that we manage now, and that was why we were brought in for them, was to really help clean things up. They got hit with ransomware about 9 months ago. Their spend on their ransomware attack, even though they didn't pay it, is going to be around $900,000 with lost labor, cleaning everything up, redoing of the systems, all these different tangible things that needed to be done and dealt with, around close to $1 million in damage. Now, if that's me as the business owner in a brewery, I'm under. We're not opening the next day.
Right.
So, how do you
And that was a fairly sophisticated company.
It very much so. So they were under the assumption that they were protected because they were in the cloud. Well, you're not protected because you're in the cloud. It actually came from somebody's email. The threat was able to move laterally, meaning go from one spot to another. And, within 4 hours, everything was locked up. So it did stem from an email, and that was all that it took. So what we did to remediate all of that, now we didn't do the ransomware cleanup. That was the company that they were with before. We came in after the fact, and what we saw was, holy crap, are you guys open?
Exposed.
You are still totally exposed. So we ended up, putting 2-factor on everything, locking down their external network. You could get to their cameras just by Googling their site. I'm like, okay, we got to lock all this down. So worked on their firewalls, got everything cleaned up there. Again, put different policies in place for their phones. We are now doing backups for them on site and off site. So that the big thing was their ERP data. That's their bread and butter. I mean, that's where everything lives. At the end of the day, they had to reconstruct it because they didn't have a backup of it.
Yeah.
So now moving forward, if anything, God forbid, happens, there's 100 backups everywhere. So it's literally everywhere.
Yeah. So we just talked in that case about the direct cost in terms of lost productivity plus actual hard costs to put everything back in place.
Yep.
That's a huge dollar cost to that business. But for businesses that have customer data in their system, you're talking about a loss of reputation and confidence in your customer base, which the cost of that is exponential.
Well, you look at the Target breach and what happened there. That can honestly happen to anybody. For the most part, I think the statistic is literally everybody on this planet is their name and a little bit of their data is on the dark web for you to buy. I mean, you look at Target alone, that was like, I don't even remember what the number was, but it was crazy. It was like 1/3 of the world's population, So, that being said, it's out there. It's like, how do you combat, what happens after you are hit? Yeah. That's the biggest thing. We at the bank, we are prepared for, being hit and what happens afterwards. How can we get our data back, and how do we protect our clients' data? Yeah. That's where we focused our time in.
So unfortunately, not the ideal circumstance for you all to get involved because you want to get involved up front and put
Right.
the measures in place.
Right.
But you have the experience and the capability to go in if a business has been
Yep.
compromised and try to get it back.
And
back into steer.
it's really the tools that we utilize. A lot of the tools that we're using are, Fortune 500 companies. They're in the Gartner matrix. They're top of the line stuff. But at the end of the day, it's also how do you put a price on, per device, making sure it's secure? Is it worth $20 a month per machine? And again, all of this is just in generalities, but in my eyes, yeah, it's definitely worth that. And the business that we have all of these things on, they're like, well, it's going to cost me $11,000 a year to do this based off of my inventory. Okay, that's better than paying the $900,000 that I just did. So, you got to really think about that as a business owner.
And my understanding is a lot of this has to do with monitoring of the systems.
Mm-hmm.
You talk a little bit about how your group can monitor and react.
Yeah. So from a services perspective, we can be as granular as the client wants. We can be the first call. If you're a manufacturing company that has its own IT person or something like that, they could be the first call if an alert is going off, or it can be handled by us. We triage it and send an email to the IT guy saying, "Hey, this is what happened. It's cleaned up. We're all done. Good to go." So that's the level of service engagement that we get into. So just depends on the actual client's needs.
So everything's customized,
Mm-hmm.
but how did you all get paid? How do you handle rates, billing, that type of thing?
So it really is. It comes down to what is needed. So if you're needing a backup service, if you're needing remote monitoring management, the tools we sell as a monthly fee. It's based off of the number of devices. It depends on if you're in a backup scenario. Depends on how much data you're backing up. We really don't make a whole lot of money on that because it's just the tool that we're utilizing for you. Where we come in to make our money is, the expertise that goes into setting all of it up, managing issues when something happens, and then that on-site touch points where we're going on site to really do some configuration work. And so we sell it in a block of hours. But really, again, we can do whatever makes the most sense for the customer.
And I think, when you were developing your business model, as we've done with all of our subsidiary entities, we're recognizing that these, in a lot of cases, are very small businesses.
Yeah.
They don't have huge budgets for this type of thing.
Right.
So I know you did some survey work when you were putting the business plan and the model together for Enterprise Technology Group.
Correct.
We're going to be, I'm guessing, a lot more affordable than a lot of the IT solutions.
We're about 50% cheaper than your normal MSP is. But it also comes with a little bit more knowledge on that small business attitude.
Yeah.
Because
not
again,
overkill for.
Yeah, it's a very customized approach because you're right. There's not massive amounts of IT budgets out there. And a lot of startup businesses don't even put IT line items in their budgets anymore. Yeah. I'll do everything on my computer. Okay, well that's how you get started. But I started Den and Keg with probably 3 laptops, and now I think I have like 15. I'm in the same boat. I consume these services as a client of Enterprise Technology Group because I don't have the time to manage the updates, make sure everything's secure. The tools allow us to do that for you.
So then obviously, as you said, when it's based on number of devices or number of users, it's scalable. So if you're starting small, going to be relatively inexpensive. As you grow and hopefully your profits grow.
Yep.
Your needs are going to increase, and as will most of your costs.
Yeah, and it works the opposite way too. For these clients are the by going with this model, you're paying for what you're using.
Yeah.
So up to we had a customer that had 8 devices. Well, they realized they only really needed 4, and the other 4 were totally outdated, but they just kept them. I'm like, well, it's more of a liability for you to have these, and you're paying me to manage them when you don't use them. Get rid of them. It's an entry point for bad actors.
Yeah.
If you're not using them, don't. So they recycled them, and we dropped their licensing down to 4.
Yeah.
So,
and I think at least it was an eye opener to me. You and I had talked offline a couple of times. Devices are not necessarily just laptops and cell phones anymore.
No.
There's a lot of devices out there that can be compromised.
Yep.
I mean, you mentioned security cameras.
Yeah, the security cameras. Yep. Yeah, really anything with an IP address can be effectively touched. So, yeah, it is kind of crazy where the world's gotten to. I mean, your refrigerator has an IP address. Nobody's hacking refrigerators at this point, but they're hacking the account that's tied to the refrigerator. So they're getting username, and if you use your password for that refrigerator account, so you can have a nice little calendar on the refrigerator be updated, they get that, and it's the same password as your credit card. Boom, there you go. That's the difference between what we were seeing back in the day, whether it's just a straight up virus trying to get data out. Now it's just account after account. So, like you said, I have everything two-factored that I can. So
password managers, I'm assuming, is
Again, we have a password manager that we are able to sell to our clients as well. It's fantastic. We're just going down that path with these guys right now, but we have to use it. As you can imagine, how many passwords my IT group has. Yeah. It's also a protection because it's that winning the lottery theory. Well, somebody wins the lottery in my group, they might be gone the next day. We have a really good team. I don't think that would happen. But, if you are worried about something like that, all of that stuff is documented.
So, in terms of industry, this is pretty much agnostic as far as industry is concerned.
It absolutely is anymore. Anymore, it is everything and anything. I mean, like I was saying, I'm a brewery with 11 or 15 laptops. Really? Yeah. So yeah, and we have security cameras. We got the network switches, the firewalls, all of that because it's needed for how we operate as a business. Not everybody needs that level of sophistication, but we did based off how we do things. So
well, probably because one of the owners is an IT guy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of a nerd spend, I would think, and I apologize if Corey's listening to this, but yeah, it might have been a little bit of overkill. So. Yeah.
So clients are interested. Either they're just getting started and they have no idea how to set up an IT infrastructure, or they're in business and they're looking for more efficiency or better protection. How do they get in touch with you, and how does the process work?
Well, what's really great about Enterprise Bank is I have how many RMs do we have? Eight RMs. So we're utilizing our relationship managers as an extension of us. So the RMs are talking to the clients around, this service. So that's how that initial contact's being made. But you call me directly. You can get a hold of the Enterprise Technology Group. I have a number here. It's 412-213-7319. info@enterprisetechpgh.com.
Is that your website?
That's our website as well. So, again, all of that is out there to be consumed. But the biggest thing is this grassroots effort. I mean, one person talks to another person about how we were doing and how the approach was. That's where we've been really working well.
Yeah, and I want to be very clear to our viewers and listeners. You do not have to have any affiliation with Enterprise Bank as a customer to take advantage of these services.
That's correct.
And as you mentioned earlier on, you'll go out essentially and do a free assessment right up front at no obligation or cost to the client.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, especially if it is one of our clients, we're on top of that. But also, if you're not, again, we want to help you. We're in the small business mindset, and we just want to make sure everybody's protected as best they can be.
Any parting words as both an IT professional and a business owner?
I would, if I would have I should have taken my own advice years ago and said, I should have doubled my IT budget. That's really not doable. But when I look at the tools that we're providing, it really makes sense from that small business, mindset of saying, okay, I can't be the IT guy. I can't be the finance guy. I can't do everything. I want to focus on growing the business. So I'm going to offload this to somebody that's capable of doing it. And at the end of the day, it's a nominal fee, so yeah.
Excellent. Look forward to as one of the lending team here, continuing to work with Enterprise Technology Group. And as mentioned, if any of you are interested in getting in touch with Matt and his team, whether you're just getting started and need some IT advice or whether you're already in business and looking to improve your efficiency and security, again, Matt, that number is
412-213-7319.
And the email address?
Email address is info@enterprisetechpgh.com.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dave.
For those of you that have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can email us here at insidethevault@enterprisebankpgh.com. Please be sure to check us out on all the major podcast platforms in audio format and in video format on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching and listening.